small till it ain't, till it ain't, till it ain't, till it ain't. I'm building up a wall till it breaks. She hated when I call and it's late. I don't wanna keep you waiting. I hope I never keep you waiting. She think I know it all, but I don't.
Hello, guys.
Hey, Scott.
Hi.
We have a guest today.
Hannah's
Yes, I'm
back.
back. I'm
Hey,
joining
Hannah.
from, I think we're all in 3 different time zones. I'm joining from Oregon. This is my dad's office.
Oh, wait, you're from Oregon. That's right. Your parents are academics.
Yeah, this
Yeah.
is my dad's office. He's a professor at University of Oregon in English.
Oh, what's his specialty? I was an English major. I told you
Yeah,
that, right?
early American literature, but he teaches class on the humanity of cars and environmental stuff. He kind of, now that he's late in his career, he just goes all over the place, teaches whatever he wants.
The humanity of
Yeah.
cars.
Yeah, he has a book like anthropomorphizing cars. He's
We were talking about that. Does he think it's evil? Caitlin thinks it's evil to do
I
that.
never give cars names. I'm not going to be judgy. People get really
What
mad at
about
me.
boats? What
No,
about boats, Caitlin? You're
no, it's all
supposed to
silly.
do it. What
Should
about
not name your.
hurricanes? What
Yeah, it's
about
silly too.
hurricanes? You don't do it with hurricanes either?
I mean, I accept that other people do, and then I use the names. I'm not going to be rude.
you personify your chickens though.
Well, that's different. They have souls.
Yeah, they're beings.
I'm thinking we should have your dad on to talk about the humanity of AI at some point, but
I,
that's
I bet he has some
Yeah.
thoughts on
He
it.
doesn't use it at all. I've been teaching him a lot about how I use AI, which has gotten really extreme lately. Kind of
You've been
using
using it
him as a
more?
career coach lately, asking him
Wait,
to estimate the percentage chances of my paper getting accepted and various outcomes I want for myself.
yeah.
oh my,
Wait, he's
that's
been doing this or you've been doing it?
I've been telling him all about myself and asking, like, I gave him my paper on Airbnb and eviction, which is the continuation of my thesis that I did with under Caitlin. And I asked him to estimate percentage chance I'll get accepted versus another revision because I've done one revision already. And he put a low probability on acceptance, but I did get a conditional acceptance last week. So excited about that.
Congratulations. I actually thought this
amazing.
whole time you were talking about your dad. You were making him do all this, and then I
No,
missed
no,
it.
I
That's
could.
great news.
I
Yeah,
mean, let's put this in context for one sec. This is Hannah's undergrad thesis that she is sole authored and is publishing as a sole authored paper. Do you want to say the journal?
yeah, regional science and urban economics.
In a very solid
Congratulations.
journal. Like, that is just fantastic. So, Claude gave you a low probability of acceptance?
Yeah, I mean, I think he said 15% acceptance, 60% another revision, and what's the remainder? 25% rejection. So,
That
yeah, low
doesn't mean
odds.
that doesn't mean yeah, low odds.
Claude is a real pessimist. Did you train him to be that way? Because I saw your R&R letter in the referee reports and I thought they were really solid, like really. I mean, you got lucky. Everybody can tell you horror stories about referee reports. I thought that they were
Yeah.
really spot on and thoughtful and made the paper
Hmm.
better and the editor too. And why I don't know why Claude was such a pessimist. I
Wait,
thought they liked your paper.
He thought after the R&R you had a 15%.
Yeah, he thought another revision was going to happen. I think that's
Oh,
pretty typical. I mean, it was only one
oh, okay.
round.
Wait, he thought there's a 15% chance you will get a revision request, which means he thought there was an 85% chance that they were going to just reject it.
No, no. He thought
Oh,
60% chance I'll get another revision round, and then, which
mm,
could mean acceptance later on, but
I
15% chance of an acceptance at this stage.
got it. Got it.
Yeah.
Well, congratulations.
Yeah, thanks.
Uh,
That's wonderful.
I do
Caitlin, when
think
did
I
you
had
get your,
it easy
sorry.
because one of the peer reviewers just wrote a paragraph. I guess or she said that the results are kind of null, which makes it less publishable, but he didn't critique anything else about the paper, so I was really only responding to one referee.
Well,
Yeah.
how do you feel?
Feel great. I wasn't really expecting it. I'm also still surprised. I watched your episode yesterday, the most recent one, and Caitlin was talking about her paper on phones and fertility. And um,
Mhm.
yeah, I have to say I'm surprised that these papers haven't been written already. Like these are pretty sexy topics. And my paper on Airbnb and eviction, I mean, that's something anyone can understand. It's and it's kind of a hot policy topic. And I'm surprised with AI now that these papers aren't already being written and that we can still publish
Yeah.
them. Yeah.
I don't know what the adoption is yet of Claude Code. I mean, to be honest, I feel like it's, expensive still, and a lot of universities are not covering it. So you have to pay out of pocket. And frankly, um, the people that you would think are using Claude Code are sometimes not. And there is something at Anthropic. They did a survey. Economists in their survey were the most likely to be using Claude Code, the share, but you can see they broke it down by professor, and it was the highest for the PhD students and for the assistant professors. No, highest for PhD, postdocs are identical, and then just systematically goes down. And, the seasoned people, that would mean the seasoned people are less likely to be using it.
Hmm.
They have the most, so I think right now I kind of get the vibe that, I mean, because I'm presenting, the people are inviting me to come present about Claude Code, and you'd be surprised. I mean, I'm always surprised at people the places that are asking me. And I kind of get the sense, everybody, we're still at the beginning of this
Hmm.
adoption. Some people are using it like crazy, but not everybody is.
Yeah, it's been
There's a
hugely
lot of papers
helpful
being,
with my replication file, which I'm working on now.
yeah,
And a lot of these files I didn't, I mean, like the census tract shape files I haven't looked at since I was a thesis student. And now I have to figure out
yeah.
how to scrape them from census website and then clean them. And Claude is really helping with that.
Oh, I
Yeah. I'm
bet.
wondering, when do you submit the replication file? Is it at this conditional acceptance stage? Do you upload it to like ICPSR?
I think it's typically when you're accepted.
Okay. So I don't have to attach it
They'll
right
tell.
now as a zip file.
Unless the journal
Yeah.
says, I mean, different journals have
Yeah.
different policies,
They
but
didn't
Scott, am I
mention
right?
it.
Can you think of any that you have to submit it with a revision?
No, it's at the accept. I mean, they'll give the accept, and then they'll give you all the instructions. Every journal's going to have
Hmm.
like, a different kind of data policy, but I think it's great. The one of that is definitely a blessing, really, that we can use AI to arrange these data replication packages, because that's a huge
Hmm.
pain. Getting that exactly right is hugely important. It takes a ton of time, and it's easy to do it badly. And that's kind of my mind, the things you use AI for is extremely valuable things that take a ton of time and are extremely easy to do terribly. And those are like that. If AI can help you on that, it's like, I'm not saying it's globally, I'm not saying that the social welfare function is maximized, but it's like the private stuff is, I think.
Yeah.
Yeah, I love using Claude for replication packages. Holy moly, it makes it so much easier to make them beautiful and really well documented in particular, like the narratives that it prepares. I in the past I must be very slow, but I would spend a week prepping a replication package, even though I'm a neat worker in general, but just going back and I always take it as an opportunity to go through every single step again, document everything, make sure I use the most recent version of the data. I'll update it if I didn't, if that makes sense. And it just takes a long time.
Hmm.
And Claude is like, oh, Claude is the best for helping with that.
Do you use Claude Code so you let him go into your directories and
I do. I do,
yeah,
unless I'm using like restricted sensitive data, in which
right.
case I do not. Those are walled off. But otherwise, yeah.
Yeah, I don't have Claude Code. I'm I'm just using Claude Pro, so I'm often copy and pasting my do files into the chat box. And yeah,
Oh, bless your
it's a
You're not
heart.
using Claude Code.
no,
You can't use with the Pro. You can't get Claude Code. It's not a little
no.
button over
And
there.
it also has a limit very quickly, and especially with this replication file stuff, it's thinking very hard, and I use a lot of the tokens very quickly, and then it locks me out for a few hours.
Yeah,
So it's
yeah.
slow.
Okay.
Yeah.
I'm going to say something that's going to sound obnoxious, but you have to use Claude Code. Like
You gotta
I,
use Claude Code.
not for human RAing since you're our shadow human RA, but like you have to try it. You have to try it.
Yeah.
There's nothing like just doing it. And
Treat yourself. Treat yourself, Hannah. Get a 1 month
Hannah, I'll
thing
buy
and
you
run
a
that
month subscription.
replication
You
deal.
got to use it.
Well,
Yeah,
I'm gonna see if can you gift a subscription? I'm gonna go find out. You
yeah.
have to try it.
I'm
I'll do a matching thing. Whatever Caitlin does, I'll match
Okay,
it,
good.
and then we're gonna Venmo you whatever that is.
Yeah.
I'm preparing this on my work laptop, so I don't want to
Oh,
give it, yeah, directions to I don't want to give it access to my
that's
files.
a different barrier.
Yeah. Yeah.
Okay. We're
But you
gonna
have a laptop, right? You're doing your research. You did your research on your laptop, right? Your home one
I
or whatever.
switched everything to my work laptop and just save it in the OneDrive because now I'm very used to
Oh.
this Lenovo computer and
Mhm.
I like it over Macs and it's easier to just carry one computer around. Like I'm traveling right now and it's nice to
Did
have one.
Did Caitlin talk you into leaving the Apple universe? Is that what I'm getting with this body movement she just did? Did she
You know I'm
convince you
team
to leave Apple
PC.
Mac? Oh my gosh.
Yeah, I remember her saying it when I was a thesis
I'm the
student, but
zero dose.
I
I'm the zero dose of this. The pre Mac and the post Mac. I'm the zero dose of our conversation.
Yeah. Yes, you are.
The never changer.
Yeah. I mean, I have to say, Hannah, and I recognize every single thing that's coming out of my mouth, I'm so aware. Oh God. I don't think I feel funny even saying this. I'm so aware of my privilege. It's like such a gratuitous thing that people like to say, but I am so aware of the fact that when I say this, that I have the resources to pay for Claude Code, which I pay for out of pocket because like Mid does not have
hmm
um, any subscription or anything.
Yeah.
But that just that I have the ability to do so. And I have two computers now, and I'm constantly running Claude Code remotely on one of them so that even from my phone, I can kind of keep track of what's going on and I can tell it, like, oh, try this, try that. And it's on a Lenovo and on sitting on my desk at work, and it's always just like trying the new thing. It is
hmm
so I say, you can't live without multiple computers and an expensive subscription, but it changes your life.
Yeah, maybe later on in my research career, but yeah, it's only this one paper, so I can do it the hard way.
No, it's
Sure, but all
it's
these programs
the
need to be getting
gateway
on board with
drug.
this.
It's the gateway drug. The first
It really
paper
is.
is going to be the many more papers. A lot of people never publish. It's fantastic that you did, Hannah.
Thank you. Yeah.
Yeah.
Sole authored. Yes.
Well, how's it? So you said, did you answer how it makes you feel? I don't know if I heard what you said.
I think
How does it
I
make you?
I think I digressed about how I'm surprised no one's written my paper
Oh
yet.
yeah, right.
But yeah, it feels really good. I'm also surprised I used Callaway and Santana and Chez Martin d'Hautefeuille, but I speak French, so that's why I'm pronouncing it that way.
Yeah, yeah.
You
I'm gonna
will.
need you to give me the phonetic. I say it wrong so bad. Keep going.
Let's
Sorry.
record her, and every time we have to say it, we'll just play Hannah saying
We'll just have
it.
like a little thing. Yeah,
Go
exactly.
on, go on.
But yeah, I implemented those in like 2022, so the estimators are kind of like antiquated now, and I haven't that referees didn't bring that up. They so maybe they're not as familiar with this new diff-in-diff, but I'm surprised it's getting published without updating those estimators.
What do you mean that you're not doing Callaway Santana or you are?
No, I am. I'm just doing their 2022 version, and I say in the paper, like, I have one specification that has multiple variables, and one of them's an interaction term, and I say it's not possible to use new diff and diff on this, and it might still not be possible with the interaction term.
It
But
depends. I mean, as long as the variable has variation at baseline for your treatment or control group, you can use anything. I mean, it depends on what you're interacting in the unit, the observations, but it's just all Callaway Santana is not antiquated. I don't think. I mean,
no, the
it
version I
depends
was
on,
using. That's what
oh,
I'm
you
saying.
mean
Yeah.
The R package or the Stata
I
package.
just use CSDID and I think that was
Oh,
rolled out in 2022.
yeah,
That's not
yeah, yeah.
Yeah.
antiquated. I mean, your
No,
primary
that's what
treatment is
everybody's using.
binary. Has Airbnb arrived?
Right.
It's a great method for that.
Yeah,
Hmm.
so it's
But I
fun.
do
Mhm.
think it would be really interesting. We're going to talk about for our project that we're doing for this podcast, we're going to talk about allowing for nonlinear effects because we think the effective distance is nonlinear. And
Hmm.
Mhm.
after we do that, I think we could actually return to your topic because while your like primary treatment is binary, like has Airbnb arrived in this census tract, and then what is the effect on evictions as Airbnb arrives? Your interactions are like you think that the effects of Airbnb arriving could depend on kind of a variety of different factors, and we could talk through that, right? But the racial composition in the neighborhood,
Hmm.
poverty characteristics, the prices the Airbnbs are renting at. So I would say you're not using an antiquated method. You're using a
No.
great method, and then there's always something more you want to do when it comes to talking about heterogeneous treatment effects.
Yeah,
Right.
and there's
Right.
nothing wrong with antiquated anyway, because you should use the correct method, not the new method. You should use what is the appropriate tool for the job. And if you got staggered adoption with binary treatments, Callaway Santana is great, especially if I mean first of all it's easy to interpret. The assumptions are really clear, and it incorporates the covariates in a way that also is very flexible, allows for all kinds of junk. So that's great. Oh, I'm losing my. There we go. Okay. Um. Well, what are we doing today?
Hannah's
We
in
got
charge. Hannah, what are we
Hannah,
doing
Yeah.
you're in
today?
charge.
I
What are you
think
doing today?
we're going back to something that was discussed all the way back in episode 8 when you first ran your Poisson regression and thought about covariates. And Claude brought up this oil and gas confounder and was really concerned about it. And you tabled it for future consideration. So now I've evaluated whether it is a good or bad control.
You're back to remind us.
Yes.
By
And
the way,
I
all oil and gas.
I
Oil and
have,
gas.
I think, a really strong answer at the end to whether it's a good or bad control. So
Okay.
Okay.
I'll see if you agree.
Okay.
Yeah.
All right.
So Texas oil and gas activity. This is the table that you made in episode 8. You do the naive regression and no covariates. You see an 100-mile increase in travel distance leads to a 3% decline in marriages,
Hmm.
highly statistically significant. And then you add a bunch of covariates in columns 2 and 3. So first, race and age. And then I kind of feel like column 3 is over controlling, or at least like we didn't think very hard about whether all of these are appropriate, especially in conjunction. But um, yeah, columns 2 and 3, the statistically significant effect goes away, and we have like a 0.06 increase in marriages or decrease in marriages.
Let me ask you, Hannah, when you say, I agree with you, by the way, but let's drill into this a little bit for folks who are listening. You said maybe we didn't think very hard about whether we should be
Well,
adding all
Claude
of
did it.
those,
Yeah.
yeah, all those controls in column 3. Do you have like a specific concern there?
I haven't thought about it very much, but I think I it's important to be careful about like having good reasons for controlling for everything. I don't know. Yeah, I don't think I have a specific example, but I just think it's important to think through every one.
Yeah. I mean, I guess the story I would tell as we add the controls is that we want to think about other characteristics of the county that could be changing over time and causing marriage rates to change over time. And in
Hmm.
particular, the big concern is if any of those things are correlated with the change in distance, right? So that we would confound
Hmm.
them. But even if they're not, adding the controls can sometimes help with precision. Depends, but can.
Mm. Yeah.
Um, but here I would say it seems to me that adding age and race controls, which we do in when we go from like the simple regression in column one to the second regression in column two, that's kind of a no-brainer to my mind. Like, yeah, you gotta add those. But then in
Mm,
column three, we add things like the unemployment rate, poverty rate, percent of women with college education, log median income. They're like the specific, like the reason to add them is all of these could very well predict marriage outcomes for sure, right? So that's like a
hmm.
reason to do it. The reason to pause might be that if these themselves are affected by the abortion clinic closures, then you might worry that you're actually kind of partialing out something that's part of the effect of the abortion clinic closure, which is what's called a bad control. I don't know who first called it a bad control.
That's an Angers and Pishke phrase.
Angus and Pischke thing, yeah. So I think that might be the reason in particular that maybe column three goes too far. Depends
Hmm.
on whether you think these closures are affecting those outcomes.
Yeah,
Mhm.
I guess I would also add that does the percent of college educated women really change every year in every tract? But I don't know.
There might
Anyway,
not be a lot of variation for sure.
No, in
Yeah.
fact,
In percent college. Yeah.
yeah.
Unemployment rate 09 to 2017. We're coming off the Great Recession. So there probably was a decent amount
mhm.
of variation in that. And then probably income, I guess, because I actually don't know about the income though. It
Yeah, well,
depends
Yeah.
on how cyclical that is.
that's what Claude raises. I think you guys asked him to choose some covariates to add in column three, and he came up with percent college educated, log median income, and percent urban. But his median income, his reason for that was all about oil. He says this is the Eagle Ford shale concern. Oil boom counties have a big surge in median income, and that poverty rate won't control for this because that's the bottom tail of the income distribution. So yeah, I think this is how we brought up the oil. And yeah, I can talk about just a background on Texas oil and gas. I had to do a lot of research because never been to Texas and never thought about oil and gas very much.
Mhm.
Um,
Well, Scott and I have both lived in Texas for long
yeah.
periods of time, and I still need you to tell me about oil and gas. So,
Okay. So oil production in Texas was in decline from the 80s to the 2000s because they had depleted a lot of the reservoirs, and the Middle East was producing a lot. And so the prices were low and it wasn't worth producing in the US. But then fracking came around in 2008, 2010, and that made it way easier to extract oil that had previously been hard to get. So a the Permian Basin, which is West Texas, started producing again, and then this whole Eagle Ford shale in the southeast was proven commercial, so that started producing. And then there was also high oil prices at the same time because of conflict in the Middle East and sanctions on Iran. So then it was worth producing a lot and in the U.S. And that then there was a boom from about 2011 to mid 2014, which is right before our House Bill 2 policy change. And then oil prices crashed because those tensions in the Middle East eased. There was lots of supply in Texas, and then that triggered layoffs, and there was a huge bust from late 2014 to 2016. And I got data from the Railroad Commission of Texas, which is the Texas oil and gas regulator, and it shows exactly what I described, this boom until about 2014, and then a bust. And so this is the production data, oil and gas. Um, I'll flag that the y-axes are per woman. Per woman of childbearing age. I wanted to standardize everything with respect to the population we're interested in. And then this is Texas oil and gas employment and wage, and this is from the BLS. And it shows it even more starkly, this boom until 2014 and then a big bust.
holy bust, Batman. That is a big bust. Employment is going from 36 per 1,000 women down to 26 just between 2014 and 2017.
Mm-hmm.
That's wow.
Yep. So then
Can
I
you go
did a
back to
little
that
bit
real
of a
quick?
lit
Can you go
review.
back to that real
Yeah.
quick? Is that a well-known thing that 24, did you say this that in 2014 there's this tanking of the good Lord,
Yeah.
and it's following wages too?
Mm-hmm.
It is known in Texas. I mean, we worried, I have this other paper with co-authors that's looking at the effects on crime. And so we were worried about this because we were worried that the bust might have coincided with increases in crime. So I'm not, I think it is known that there was a bust. And in particular, Hannah, just let's line this up spatially and temporally with our identifying variations. So
Mm-hmm.
Texas House Bill 2 closes all of these clinics at the end of 2013, and that's while things are still booming.
Mm-hmm.
And when we do these simple 2012 to 2014 comparisons, which is what Scott and I have been kind of hammering out for the last few episodes just with 2 years, that's between 2012 and 2014, employment and wages and production are all going up. So think
Mm-hmm.
like these are good times and times are getting better. And the bust happens after 2014. But in our models that go after 2014, like this is going to be an issue because we have boom then the bust. So
Right.
our two by two models are during a boom period. All of our other models have boom and bust. And if you could you go back to the map for a second? Because in particular, what
Yeah.
I'm noticing, so the Permian Basin is in the Panhandle area, kind of. It's in West Texas. There are clinic closures out there for sure. So we've got
Yeah. I'll show this.
places. Oh, do you have?
Yeah. And then I have one for employment and wages. But yeah, what you're saying is correct. It seems highly correlated.
So we've got in our two by two, we've got a boom correlated with where we have increases in distance.
Yes.
Okay, go on. So I was just making sure I understand.
Yeah. Well, I'll show these graphs now. I choose baseline oil and gas production. So this is during the boom period. It's the average amount of barrels of energy between 2010 and 2012. Uh, and yeah, per woman. So yeah, it doesn't really seem very correlated with marriages. But you're not able to know everything from a graph like this. And then here is the employment level. I mean, everything really depends on the bins that you choose, but it doesn't seem like this is as correlated to distance as production is.
Yeah. What do you know about these booms? When there are booms and employment surges, are these largely folks who are moving in temporarily? Are these like long distance migrants?
Yeah, I think so. That's what Kearney and Wilson seem to think in their 2018 paper, Male Earnings, Marriageable Men, and Non-Marital Fertility. Um, that, yeah, there's a bunch of non-college educated men moving into these areas where fracking made production viable.
Yeah.
Um, yeah, so they find that marriage rates do not increase, but from the fracking boom. So you could say that, like, if we're just relying on the literature, maybe it's not even worth looking into this oil boom and bust.
Yeah, no
Um,
problem if it doesn't predict marriage rates.
yeah.
Where
Um,
what's the context of their paper? Is this,
yeah, they're using the same Texas oil and gas boom in 2000s. And they say that it's a good exogenous positive shock because no one knew that these shale plays and fuel deposits were economically viable until fracking was developed. So people moved and chose to live in those places independently of uh, the economic viability of fracking in those areas. And yeah, they use local fracking production between 97 and 2012. So that's like 4 years maybe of the fracking boom. And then family formation outcomes among 18 to 34-year-olds. And they do find that the fracking booms lead to increased wages for non-college educated men, and that births increase, but marriage rates do not. And they contextualize this with a paper about the Appalachian coal boom in the 70s and 80s because they find that marriage rates do increase with the coal boom and bust, but they reconcile those differing findings by saying that shotgun marriages have become less common and it's more acceptable to
Mm,
have babies outside of marriage.
right, right.
Yeah.
That sounds fair to me. I'm also thinking, when I think about the marriage effects in Texas, that, I can imagine that there are, for instance, non-college educated young men who, knowing that there's really, good paying jobs in these fields, right, migrate there. Like they leave Houston or Austin, they head out to the fields to work. And on the one hand, they arrive and they're earning a lot of money and maybe they meet somebody local and want to get married there. But on the other hand, maybe it also just means that they're gone for a while and if they're going to get married, they're like returning. This was a temporary migration and they're going to return
Hmm.
to Houston or wherever. It's not, I guess it's just not clear to me when I think about these dynamics, whether it would increase marriage and where it might increase marriage.
Right, right. Because if they're there for a short period of time, they're not necessarily marrying the people they meet in the places that
Right.
they work.
I'm
Yeah.
not surprised to see non-marital births increase when potentially a bunch of single men show up.
Yeah.
Right?
Isn't it, I don't want to be rude, but isn't it, there's some evidence of some negative selection of the people moving in? I thought that I'd
I don't
read
know.
that.
How so?
Well, I know that there is some studies that find increases in crime.
Hmm.
I think
Yeah.
Rodney Andrews and
Yeah.
Monica Mendez have found increases in crime, and I have that paper finding increases in uh
Gonorrhea rates.
yeah,
Yeah.
gonorrhea
Yeah.
rates. And I mean, when men, there's a theoretical literature, Edlin Korn and Lena Edlin, journal political journal JP, and it's the economics of prostitution. I can't believe I don't a theory of prostitution. I can't remember the name of it anymore, but they uh they sort of note that, when people are just going to be that when guys are going to be there temporarily, they don't access the marriage market,
Hmm. And that's what
you
you
know?
find, right? In your paper
Yeah.
on
Mhm.
fracking? Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah. I mean, like, you're not going to, there, it can happen. I think it can happen that, like, but I think it's lots of times people are setting themselves up for casual temporary relationships. That's not negative selection. I just mean, though, these other things are suggestive of it, which is the increase in crime. And I
Hmm.
believe that it's selecting on, I don't know. I actually don't feel comfortable speculating too much, but I thought that I had read that.
Hmm. Well, what do you think of these channels that I outline about how oil and gas might affect marriages? Claude was concerned about this male earnings mechanism that the boom increases wages and number of men who are viable partners and that increases marriages.
Yeah.
But then I thought about this sex ratio thing, and I
Yeah.
think you think about that in your 2020 paper, right?
Yeah,
Yeah.
yeah. That was my dissertation even. Yeah, the sex
Hmm.
ratio here, you've got an excess supply, you've got a shortage of women, but the thing is that it's a shortage of women being driven by a shock of temporary men to an area. And so those are not, that's complicated because, if you think that those men are not accessing the marriage market, or they're not in the marriage market, it's not really clear what the general equilibrium effects are even going to be theoretically. So, you know, And it's not like it's a random shock. It's drawing on, low skill work too, I believe. These are men that are working physical labor. They might be, working very long hours. Uh, if they're going back, if they like, do they stay? I mean, how often do they stay?
Yeah, I don't know. I didn't look into that. Is that known in the
Well, it's
literature?
just like, they might be going back, they might be married, they might be going back home, and they might be sending money back home. There is a
Right.
paper by Brittany Street. She has this really clever paper. It's in the Journal of Public Economics, and she basically got the entire phone book in North Dakota, if I understand this correctly. And she had before and after these booms. She knew the residential North Dakotans. And so she can look at the effect of the boom on their crime rates and separate it out from the visitors. And so, because Becker's theory suggests exogenous increase in income would reduce crime. And that is what she finds. So amongst like residents, there is this like exogenous boom in income, I think coming from like owning property, where these mental rights are being, or these various kind of, they have to
Or they can
use
be
people.
taking the jobs too.
They could be taking the jobs too, but like that, well, yeah, if they're like taking the jobs too, it's not selecting on a group of workers that are coming into the area temporarily. These are like permanent people.
Sure, but I just don't think they're taking all of them. I mean, but when there's a boom, there's local people who are getting better, higher paid jobs, and there's an influx of migrants, right?
Yeah, and they're
And
spending
the
money.
effects on crime could be different for the two groups because of selection. And also I'm wondering
Yeah,
about like the probability of being caught, right? So if you're local, I think the story, like a Becker story prediction is really clear. If you already live there,
yeah,
right? And there's a boom, this is going to increase your income. This
yeah,
is going to probably reduce crime. But if you're a migrant into this place, there's first of all the selection story of who's migrating, but also like maybe the chances of being caught feel lower. You're not part of this community. You're coming and
yeah.
going. Like, yeah,
And then the aggregate crime rates are going to mix them.
right, right.
Hmm.
You got a reduction for one, an increase, or you know,
Potentially. Yeah,
potentially an ambiguous effect for another. Yeah.
Yeah.
yeah. I mean,
Separately, I'm curious, given your work on sex ratios, Scott,
Uh-huh.
um, do you find that it's only when it's a male-dominated sex ratio that marriage rates increase? If there's an uh, oversupply of women and a shortage of men, that does not increase marriages?
Well, my dissertation was on shortages of men, and
Yeah.
but I had a coding error, so I'm not
Mm.
qualified to speak about it anymore. But the literature on having too few men by Adiora Adamora, UNC Chapel Hill. She was or still is an epidemiologist that has written about it. The effect of mass incarceration on the Black community. It can lead to uh, the theoretically the bargaining position changes when there's a shortage of men. Women are competing with each other. They have a weaker credible threat to exit the relationship. Men have a very strong bargaining position in the household because they can exit and find another person much easier because of the excess number of
Hmm.
women. So it's thought to be she thinks that the high rates of HIV amongst African American women, heterosexual African American women, is related to that sex ratio imbalance that is favoring men because of the shortage. And there has been some stuff on that, but it is always hard to isolate the sex ratio because the sex ratio, why does it ever shift? Because at birth it's 50-50. So what exactly makes it shift? It's got to be these exogenous shocks, but these exogenous shocks never just change the sex ratio. They change the composition of the men and women in the community, they have their own, because they're usually fairly dramatic. I mean, if it's like a war, or if it's mass incarceration, or if it's some kind of like, I mean, Angerst uses like a policy shock from immigration flows being changed exogenously by the American government. That one is probably the cleanest of anything I've seen, but lots of us that studied the sex ratio were had a really hard time trying to isolate just a marriage market effect. And in that paper
Hmm.
with Greg and Brock, I mean, we almost kind of didn't care. We were just trying to know the fracking boom, sort of the net effect over all of it. And we speculated sex ratios, but we were also open to compositional stuff too. So it's kind of like there is a literature for sure that sex ratio imbalance in favor of the men, too many women, can lead to men having multiple partners,
Hmm.
negotiating unprotected sex. All of those things would, if there were concurrent partners overlapping and you're also negotiating unprotected sex, that will fuel that is a very efficient sexual network structure for the spread of any kind of infection.
Yeah. So maybe a male heavy sex ratio increases STIs, but a women heavy sex ratio increases
Yeah,
marriages.
yeah,
Yeah.
yeah. I mean, the it could also be that a male heavy, see, that's the thing, is a male heavy having a sex ratio of two, we'll call it too many men, too many men. Well, it's not obvious that that should increase STDs because you've got isolated
Oh,
men.
I meant the opposite. Yeah.
Yeah, it's like, you're finding the opposite?
No, I said it
Yeah,
wrong. I
that's what
meant
I
the
it's
opposite.
yeah, the
Yeah.
opposite, right? Because
Yeah.
it's incapacitating the men. And if these are dyads that are forming, like the women are forming marital partners, that anytime there's a monogamous partnering of any kind, that is sufficient from the perspective of a STD that's trying to reproduce itself in the population. And so, the more of those get shut down, theoretically, it could help. It could like reduce the spread, But it's all kind of comes to like ceteris paribus holding fixed the composition of the kinds of individuals, because if it's bringing in individuals that are wanting to, yeah, I say all this stuff on the air, but it's like wanting to see a sex worker, which is kind of part of our paper. We looked at it. We looked
Yeah.
at the change in sex work. So like that has its own independent effects, completely separate from sex ratio stuff. Sex ratio stuff almost is like trivial at that point because of like, a group of people that are not accessing the marriage market, they're accessing the casual, like they may not even be accessing the casual market because there's still an excess number of them. So they might end up seeing a sex worker, you know? And so I don't know the theoretical predictions kind of going up in different directions, but I don't think it's usually thought to be like particularly advantageous to have
Well,
too many
maybe
men.
maybe for risky sex, STIs, unintended births, but for marriage, do they go in opposite directions? Because thinking for us in particular,
Yeah,
so we have regions where all of a sudden there's an oil and gas boom.
yeah,
So for the prior, like people who were already living there, this is increasing income, and we think that that is probably going to increase marriages.
yeah,
And for migrants coming in, um, on the one hand, it means there's relatively more men than women. It gives women bargaining power. Maybe they have a preference for marriage and they're like exerting this. And on the
yeah,
other hand, there's only so many of them.
yeah,
And maybe the men who come in are just like going back home. But
yeah,
would it be the case then that we're saying there might be no effect on marriages? We could believe that. Or there might be
yeah.
an increase in marriages. Is there a story where we predict that the boom decreases marriages in the regions where it's happening?
Hmm. I mean, I guess it would just be in more plausibly no change, because if those people who move into those areas are accessing the casual sex market, then they
Yep.
could leave
Yeah.
marriages for the people who live there all the time unchanged.
It's not clear. Yeah, and I can't really
Yeah.
easily tell a story. I mean, you can always come up with a story.
Well, we can look at the data now.
They thicken the casual market. These are small communities. Okay. These are like smaller communities. Casual market might be relatively thin in the first place because they all know each other and they're like, it's homogenous and whatever. And then but a ton of people come in, but they're not accessing the marriage market. They're wanting to access the casual market. That's what they want. Who knows what that does? I'm making that up, by the way. I have no idea, but like,
Mm.
but you shock a relationship market with a group of people that have no intention of marrying. What's the equilibrium effect on the marriage market? And through who knows if it was always very thin, if the casual market was always thin, who knows what the local the native men want, you know, could grow a part of the market that never existed in the first place.
Hmm.
Okay.
Okay. Well, we can look at what the data say.
Yeah,
Yeah,
let's do that.
But
We've
first,
speculated plenty.
yeah.
um, I want to talk about how I chose to measure the energy variables, and I want to see if you agree. So I scale employment and wages and production per woman 15 to 44 because I thought it makes sense to express oil relative to the population we're studying, and it's the same as the other variables. I mean, we're looking at marriages per woman of this age, not travel distance. But do you think that makes sense?
I'm curious what Scott thinks. I don't think it would have been my instinct to scale it,
Mm.
but I also don't think it's going to matter very much
Hmm.
because these populations aren't changing a bunch over time and we have a diff-in-diff framework. I think my thought would have been to do something like just log oil or gas production.
I do
Um,
that as well.
yeah, but I don't think this will matter that much. What do you think, Scott?
I am not like an expert on when to use what denominator, to be completely honest. I'm usually just thinking of controls as trying to absorb to restore parallel trends or soak up a bunch of residual variance, get more precision. So, I don't really know what to think there. Um, Baseline oil activity, though, I do like that.
Hmm.
So you're gonna have an unchanging covariate though? Is that about right?
Yeah, I guess for each county, it's the same. Does that make sense? I don't think that makes sense because we want it to change over time. And
Well,
Well, it
wait, I
just
think there's a couple
depends.
things. Wait, I think there's a couple things you could do. So, one would be to try to directly measure oil and gas production every year and maybe just put it in the model,
yeah.
like just like we would have unemployment rate. But then
Hmm.
I think the other thing that could also make sense, I can think of a lot of ways to try to look at robustness here, but another one would be to just come up with a measure of these are very oil and gas intensive counties, and
Yeah.
I'm going
Hmm.
to just interact it with year
Yeah,
to
if you
Yeah,
allow
interact with
for,
year, yeah.
I do that in one of
yeah.
my following slides.
Well, if
Not in
you're
all of them.
changing it, but aren't you telling us, Hannah, that it is when you say baseline oil activity, it's county level, right?
Yeah, it should be. I
Yeah.
mean, it doesn't change over time. I'm looking at the average between 2010 and 2012. But I
Yeah.
thought, I mean, a confounder has to be predetermined. It can't be like swept up with the happening as a result of HB2. It should be happening before HB2, right? It
Well, to repair parallel trends, there's different reasons you put covariates in, but if it's a strict diff and diff where you're needing it to be that units with comparable covariates are allowed to follow the same trend, but maybe the treatment and control or have different composition of those groups. The point there is just fix these mechanically broken parallel trends. But if it's like post treatment, there's a covariate, it's correlated with the treatment, you know, That one's a little different because even Caitlin brought up, Caitlin brought up covariates that are measured consistently over time will survive the county fixed effects, but then if they are affected by the treatment, then they're bad controls. So,
Hmm.
if you need them for the confounders, the post-treatment confounders, you're worried about that. But then they're also being impacted by the treatment. It's kind of like you're got to choose your poison, I think.
Yeah.
I'm not really sure exactly what I would say to do in that situation.
I mean, here's a take. I don't think that the oil and gas boom or bust were plausibly affected themselves by HB2, right?
Hmm.
But they
Yeah, you're right.
did occur in some of the same places at about the same time.
Hmm.
So to my mind, it's not a problem necessarily that they're still varying with HB2 because I don't think they're bad. I don't think they're likely to be bad controls. I don't think they're effects of HB2. So to my mind, it's okay to throw them in as time varying controls. My
Hmm.
concern is just measurement error, actually, which is that I'm not sure how we're measuring production, but suppose that it's like barrels of oil.
It is.
Okay. And the price of oil is changing. So maybe we're not fully measuring the boom and the bust because the price of oil is changing. And so that's why taking some kind of baseline oil activity and interacting it with year feels a little bit uh, better position to kind of capture the fact that oil and gas, like counties that are oil and gas producers, might have just been having some annual shocks. And, we don't have to be like, oh, we
Hmm.
can measure exactly what happened with their production or with the price of oil, but just say like things might have been different there each one of these years.
Hmm. Here I look at standard deviation, employment per capita, and wages per capita and production. And so this isn't a baseline measure, this is contemporaneous. And we see that employment and wages don't seem to predict travel distance, but production does. That's kind of what we saw in the maps we were looking at. Um, it seems like production's more highly correlated with travel distance. And that makes sense because we know that these rural counties that are producing a lot of oil are also the ones that were had a big change in travel distance. But I guess this is the first question is of whether it's a good control is does it even affect the treatment variable?
So here in these models, what you're saying, these are diff-in-diff models. They have county and year fixed effects. So you're
Yeah.
saying in places where your measures of oil and gas production increase, these are also tend to be places where distance increased. Like these
Hmm.
models are basically confirming our observation from the map.
Right.
Okay, so this is continued reason for concern is that this is showing
Hmm.
us that the boom is concentrated in the places that are identifying our effects.
I
Hmm.
kind of prefer to use these exogenous geological things than employment and wages, I guess, because I don't know. I just don't know enough to just say that it is impossible for the treatment to the abortion clinic closures to have no effect on employment and wages. I mean, that I
Hmm.
don't know.
Yeah,
I,
no, I
I
think
I
that's
feel like
fair.
those are exogenous.
Hmm.
Production and energy stuff is exogenous.
Yeah, so you might rather see, Scott, just something like take some early average of oil production prior to HB2 and
Yeah.
have maybe just like a bar chart where you take the counties and you're like, low producers, higher producers, and then each bar is how much distance changed so that you could just see if the places that at baseline were high producers tended to have,
Yeah.
yeah,
Hmm.
different changes in distance. I think that that'd be fair too. I think that we would see the same thing everywhere. We could see it on the
Yeah.
map.
Yeah.
Mm.
Well,
It
now
doesn't matter.
I switched to a Poisson because I wanted to compare everything to the uh, point estimate that you got in episode 8 of that 3% decline in marriages from an
Mm-hmm.
100% increase in travel distance.
Mm-hmm.
And here, yeah, I'm still not looking at baseline. So this is contemporaneous. Each treat or each X variable is a standard deviation increase, and it's per capita.
You
And
Z scored these.
no, it's a standard deviation. That's what the Z stands for. Or
That's
if,
what I'm saying.
unless
Yeah,
Z
you
Yeah, it's
score
turned
a
it.
Z
means the same
score.
thing.
It's a Z
Okay.
Yeah,
score.
same thing.
Okay.
Um, so I add all these confounders separately, and it doesn't seem to affect the head point estimate.
Yep.
Mhm.
So just to be clear, this is the Poisson. We keep switching models on folks, but this is the
Yeah.
one that has every year through 2017.
Yes.
Correct? Yeah.
I always use every year in all the
Yeah.
regression tables I'm showing.
So
Man,
I'm
it's doing
curious.
nothing. It's doing nothing. Look at the
Nothing.
standard here. It's
Hmm.
so distance changes are they just are orthogonal in the sample with
Oh,
these oil things.
no, I
Oil,
don't think they're orthogonal. I think these oil things just don't matter for marriage. I
Yeah.
think we know oil and
but
gas
they don't.
production.
Oh, it's
We
just that
know
they're
oil and gas
irrelevant.
production is correlated with distance for sure. But Hannah already told
But
us about
then
another
wouldn't
paper
it?
that said that an oil and gas boom won't affect marriage. So if
Hmm.
these covariates are correlated with distance,
They
but
aren't, right?
no, they are
Well, then why isn't it
because they're not
drawing it?
correlated with marriage.
Well, how can it be correlated with distance and distance is correlated with
I want to
marriage?
draw a
But
Venn diagram. I'm drawing it in the
oh,
air.
really? You can? Oh,
Yeah.
shoot.
Okay.
Okay.
You ready? So we have variation in marriage rates. We're trying to predict it.
Hmm.
And we're trying to predict it with variation in distance. That's another overlapping circle, right?
Oh, it's not inside it.
Hmm.
Got
Right.
it.
Exactly. Variation, like the oil and gas boom,
Mhm.
absolutely. It is absolutely correlated with changes in distance. Hannah just showed us that five
You
different
love
ways,
these
right?
Venn diagrams. You have the Frischwall level
Freaking
Venn
love
diagram.
them. Fish
Yeah,
law
I
level.
remember
Like that's
now.
how I think about it.
You
I
think about it.
wish I was just drawing it. But yeah, so we know oil and gas production is correlated with change in distance. So it definitely was a potential threat. But we also know that there's this other paper that says, hey, it doesn't actually affect marriage. And if that other paper is right, what we see here is exactly what would happen, which is that adding it doesn't really change anything.
And they're using basically the same data. They're also
Yeah.
studying this same fracking boom. I mean, they might have looked at like marriages among 18 to 34-year-olds, but yeah, and I think they might be measuring production, but yeah, it's
Now,
the same data.
did you say that you also tried this with interacting it with the year fixed effects?
Yeah,
How did that
that's
look?
this one. That's the next slide.
Oh, those numbers are
Um,
all very similar.
yeah, I don't show the year and baseline exposure interactions because that would be a very long table, but yeah, it doesn't affect this travel distance variable.
That okay. Is our takeaway here, Hannah, for the referee or the seminar person who says, what about the oil and gas boom? Is the takeaway absolutely they happened. They're correlated with the change in distance. This potentially could be a concern.
Hmm.
But we also have this literature that says it doesn't really affect marriage. And
Hmm.
when we added as controls, multiple different, like you tried it so many different ways.
I have one more way after this
Oh, show us
too.
one more way. Is there something that's about to change everything I'm going to conclude?
No, no, not
Oh,
at
good.
all. Um, I just separate the oil heavy counties from the non-oil heavy counties, and it's just the non-oil heavy counties driving the result. So even in the counties where there's a
Oh,
huge increase in oil or a lot of oil production, there's no effect of it. It doesn't confound the relationship between travel distance and marriage.
Okay.
But what do you think of this? It's probably not even worth talking about because it's so underpowered. The far right, the interaction term, but the top distance and top distance interacted with top decile has a negative uh, coefficient.
Which would mean that increases in distance, if you believe our result, increases in distance decrease marriage even more in the places that are
Hmm.
high producers.
Right.
I think my concern about it is I know that the places that are high producers had some of the biggest increases in distance. I'm just
Hmm.
wondering, hmm. And I'm also just staring at the fact that the coefficient on the interaction is really imprecisely estimated.
Yeah.
So maybe
Yeah.
I think we might not learn a bunch from it.
Yeah. I agree. But yeah, I think to answer your question, I think that's right that we're concerned because oil and gas is highly correlated with travel distance, but it doesn't affect marriages, so it shouldn't be a confounder, or we shouldn't include it as a confounder.
Well, but we did anyway, and we confirmed
Right,
that it looks
right.
okay.
For whatever
But
it's worth, you can't put covariates into the new continuous paper, Caitlin.
No
can't put them in at
covariates?
all.
Not yet. They have
Hmm.
a new working draft, but it's not yet. It's apparently hard to do. I don't really
Yeah.
understand it.
Hmm.
Well, do you think because Claude flagged log median income as this is only the Eagle Ford shale concern, that we shouldn't include log median income in as a control either in the specifications where we're able to include them?
Well, the problem is that, I mean, I think Poisson, that bias is going to carry forward that we talked about with two-way fixed effects, but it's got these negative weights on the treatment effects. So if you're below average dose, then you get negatively weighted. And if you're above average dose, you get positively weighted. So I don't know where these, I don't exactly know what to make of a negative -03 because of that. So I don't know. And
Well,
that's my
wasn't
way of
the
saying, and that's my way of saying I don't know. We haven't like been saying that we're going to stick with the two-way fixed effects.
well the negative oh 03, I think that's from the Poisson with and
Yeah.
Right.
it doesn't have the weights problem. That's a diff-in-diff thing, right?
No, it does because
No?
it's two-way
It's a
fixed effects.
continuous, yeah, it's a two-way
Yeah, it's
fixed
got it
effect.
too. Yeah.
Okay.
Well,
Yeah.
we don't know what the Poisson decomposition is. We're just kind of saying it's bad with two-way. We can't imagine it's better, you know,
Hmm.
is the thing. All of this is coming from heterogeneous treatment effects. And so when you introduce that, it's gonna be it messes up the regressions in general. And so I think we just don't know, but I can't imagine that it's better.
Yeah.
I mean, my vision for a paper typically is you show people all the things a reasonable person would try.
Yeah.
And when you have questions like, should median income be in the model? It might be a bad control. Just when we can't include it, we just show it with both, right? We say, here,
Hmm.
take your pick. We're going to show you all the evidence we could possibly assemble, and we'll talk through the pros and cons of each model. But so, to my mind, we should address this concern. If we end up writing a paper, it should be maybe it's a footnote and maybe it's an appendix table, but we basically say you might worry about the oil and gas boom. On the other hand, other authors have found it didn't affect marriage. And when we add it to our Poisson models, it doesn't affect the outcome.
Hmm.
I
I
don't think you
agree.
have to I don't think you have to pick and decide like this one is the exact right model.
Right, right. Hmm. Where are you guys with I mean, I don't think we really know what the headline result is yet because we don't really trust the Poisson result. And now we're kind of we're looking into these new estimators and we haven't really applied them yet. So do you
Well,
agree?
we did them
We
today,
don't really
or we
know
did them
yet.
on the last. We did them last week on the, or sorry, we did it on the last episode. Well, I mean, I think the jury's out. We're
Jury's
still
out.
we're not really saying one way or the other. We had a lot of questions about some things, and we're still digging a little bit about the comparisons we're making. I will say that what we saw was some things were negative and some things were positive, and nothing was significant, and that was kind of the where we left it. but we're still working through it. I think we're Kaylin. I mean, you're not wanting to go back to the Poisson, are you though?
I still reserve the right to decide I might. I don't know.
Oh, okay. All right. That'll be a fun episode when we
Yeah. I'm
politely.
not sure yet.
You don't know. Okay, fine.
Yeah. I want to fully understand the pros and cons of this new model and
Deal.
yeah.
Okay.
So Scott, I happen to know that you are now 15 minutes late for a call with co-authors on another paper because we're all talkers. So we should probably wind this episode up for you.
Thank you.
Hannah,
Well, Hannah, thank you as always. You did impeccable work and impressive, and I'm not surprised you got a paper published when you were not even in grad school. So thank you for doing this.
Yeah, it's been fun.
yeah, this is great. Thanks a bunch.
Okay, we'll talk again soon.
All right.
Okay.
Bye, y'all.
See ya.
Bye.